Hello and welcome to This Day with BJ Arnett, and I'm BJ. Today is a day that we want to make sure that we get a story that hits right to the heart. Have you ever had a moment with your children that you thought, how am I going to handle this? There's measles, there's mumps, there's this, there's that, and then there are moments that you just didn't expect. Challenges that stop you in your tracks, and you have to think back. Stand up and settle and stand strong. Well, my guest today is standing strong. She's settled. She's gotten her marching orders. She's ready to take care of all that she's been given to take care of. But her testimony is one that'll make you step back and take a breath. Welcome, my guest, Miss Dover. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I met you in Noonan looking at these beautiful soaps that you had created, and it was like inside of me to ask you who you really were, and you had the most amazing story to tell my husband and I. How in the world did this amazing woman who had this bright smile with this cute little girl sitting next to her
Thank you.
get to the place where you were starting your own business and doing such beautiful creative work?
Well, my son, my baby boy, had struggled with eczema, dry skin. It was literally to the point where it was like he had snake skin. So I started researching skincare, and I fell in love with soap making. And so I took a couple courses, couple classes, and I loved it, and I was able to start my own business.
But to get to your own business, you didn't actually just volunteer to go there.
No.
There was something that happened in your life that made you do a pivot, that made you make a change. Tell me about that.
So at the age of 8 in 2011, my son, Nathan, started falling out of nowhere. And there was one point in time he wasn't able to get up. So we took him to the emergency room, and they ran multiple tests. They decided to keep him because his white blood cells were elevated. Overnight, multiple neurologists were in and out the room, and then the following morning, one of the neurologists came to me and says, well, we think your son may have some form of muscular dystrophy. It's either going to be Becker's, which is on the lighter end of the spectrum, or Duchenne, which is on the latter end of the spectrum. But it would take a month for us to find out which type of Duchenne muscular dystrophy that he had. So a month later,
Is he still in the hospital this whole month?
No, they sent us home 2 days later. They called us back 1 month later to tell us that my son had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and that was the worst form of muscular dystrophy that you can have.
Wow.
So by the time he was 11, he was already wheelchair bound and could not really move, do anything on his own.
And you had a thriving career.
Yes, I did. I worked in freight forwarding and logistics all my life. And so, yeah, I had to eventually give my job up and create my own, or start my own business.
And shift your life.
Yes.
But in the process, first of all, let me say, I can't even imagine somebody coming to me and saying anything like that. But then to be able to get them the mindset, I got to take care of him. My husband and I have to come in tight. We have other children, and we've got to do this extraordinary pivot in order for this child to be perfectly taken care of. There's so many people out there who are dealing with right now, especially during this, some are saying it's really not a post-COVID moment, with life changes that you really do have to pivot. You really do have to take a breath.
Yes.
How have you been able to pivot through this? Because when I say to you, you were so bright and shining that day.
Yeah. I mean, you really have no choice but to. I remember being very angry with God because I couldn't understand why would you give this young man, I have never seen him angry a day in my life. just a beautiful spirit of a person, why would you allow this to happen to him? And, you know, I remember saying, why didn't you let this happen to Becky or Susie down the street? Why couldn't you give it to their son? Why my baby? So I struggled for a long time with him about this, and it was close to a year ago or a year later that I just heard him call my name in my sleep. I couldn't see him, but I just saw a figure. And when I looked it up, it shows that he will reveal himself to you, but not, you might not physically see him, but you'll see him in some type of figure. Yes. And that let me know that he was with me and on my side, and that I was going to stick it through. And so my relationship with him strengthened, and I believe that's how I'm able to get through it now.
You can't even imagine, and thank you for having the strength to do this, but you can't even imagine how many parents, husbands and wives, mommies and daddies are out there who have a child that has something that they've said the same thing, God, why us? But you were able to hear him, feel a sense of God in your room, and then be able to turn back to your child. Yeah. Out of everything, all this horror is happening, but there's this amazing young man whose mind is clicking, who's got this bright spirit. Did he just knock social media out the park?
He did. He's very quiet and to himself, but his personality, when anyone meets him, they're like, that boy has so much God in him. Like he's so humble. He never complains. I've never heard him complain once about his disease, having this disability, having someone have to help him with everything as far as, I mean, even lifting his head up to scratch his head. He just all smiles, and just a blessing to be around
him. In the moment that, from the moment that the doctor told you to the moment that you saw your son, and observing your son and realizing that he wasn't taking on the negative, that in something inside of him, the God inside of him, the Lord God inside of him was rising to such a place that he was able to minister this loving smile to everyone around him. How did that make you feel as his mom?
It makes me feel good, because I would complain about a lot of things. And then I would look at him and I'm like, how am I complaining about such, you know, trivial things? And here you have this boy who's struggling and he doesn't complain about anything. So he has humbled me a lot. And so now I just kind of look at everything differently now.
So your sight is different. And I have to say to you that even though it's an internal struggle sometimes for you, your sight being different actually ministers such a beauty to other people. Because I don't just walk up to folk and say, hey, how you doing? Can I pray for you?
Right, right.
You know, it was something about you that was so brilliant and bright and so wonderful, and I had no idea of the testimony behind why you created such beautiful products. Everything you create is bright and cheerful. And as my husband and I picked up each piece and we're smelling these wonderful scents, it was just amazing to hear. The backdrop was, I had to leave my job. I have to be able to take care of our son and our other children. How are you able to navigate? Because this is a real question for a lot of parents. You have one child who has a very special need, and you have to take care of that. But you also have the other children. How do you not leave them out?
I include them with everything. They love, I mean, thank God my other two children love to help with everything. So if there's anything that he needs, you know, they're fighting over who can help him, you know, who can go in and feed him, who can, you know, who can help get anything that, you know, that he needs. So,
and then you have this little bright daughter who thinks she's a junior saleswoman.
Pretty much, yeah.
She is a mess.
She is one of my social media marketers as well.
She is something. And you know, through the whole time that my husband and I were talking to you, her ears were perked. She did not go very far. Like, she's listening to everything, soaking it up. And you see that she's your mini-me.
Yes, she is. She's a big help.
As you have navigated with your husband and with all of the children, and the business has grown, what do people say to you about these wonderful products, and what do you say to them?
Well, I mean, they're just grateful for them. I've had people that have contacted me for samples. I've sent them, they've loved them, and then, you know, they kind of spread the word, and it, you know, helps to put my business out there. But, you know, I'm just grateful and thankful for all the customers that I have, because when I started, you know, I made about 1,000 bars of soap, and I just said, okay, I'm just going to launch the business, and then no sales came in. But then one day, you know, I literally got about 40 orders in one day, you know, once I started my social media. So, you know, I'm just thankful for everyone.
You know, it's interesting that, you know, the first day you had no sales, which would make most people, especially with your background, because you had a thriving career in logistics, and money's coming in, salary's great.
Yes.
Then you do this pivot in order to satisfy the need of the entire family, and you launch with 1,000 bars of soap.
And pretty much nothing, yeah. So.
And a trickle.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm just a woman of faith, and I don't like to give up. So I know that, you know, the business will come, and I knew that the business would come. So now I am in a couple stores, boutiques, and, you know, I do a lot of events, and, you know, I get a lot of business online as well.
And your online presence is wonderful, but I think the thing that makes the product so special for me is you. It is simply you.
Thank you.
It's the story behind why you did this in the first place. Even if I didn't want it, I would get it just because, man, you stepped out to do something that most people would be crushed by. You didn't allow it to crush you. You allowed it to grow you.
Yes.
You breathe through it every day, and you keep going. And the product is an example of the brightness inside of you.
Thank you.
So please know that.
Thank you.
For every moment that you think something is going wrong, for every moment that you think you can't get up, you can't do it, why in the world would I start a business? How do I do it? Google has all info, folks. All info. And as Mrs. Dover said, she started. She didn't turn tail and run. She simply started. So when you think of all the things that you could be doing, all the times that you want to give up, think of this story. Think of the time that this woman and her husband and her children had to hear that one of their children had a devastating disease. And pivot. You pivot. Make the change in your life. There's something so special about being able to do that and being able to tell the story that'll help someone else. When you think of all the things you've learned through this process, logistics is about putting things in order in a way that the delivery gets to its destination. What do you want to deliver to this public who are listening to you right now so that they get to their destination?
Well, just never to give up. You know, it doesn't matter what's in front of you. You know, as long as you believe and you have that mustard seed of faith and you have that perseverance in you, I don't care what type of personality you have, you know, you can just keep pushing forward and go after your dreams and go after what you want to do in life.
What is your son's name?
Nathan.
Nathan, you did it for mommy, and you're doing it for somebody else. We thank you for being you all the way through it, and we thank you, Mommy.
Thank you.
And Dad, we thank you too. Have a blessed day, y'all.
Thank you.